Console catastrophes, the science of gaming system failures. Did you know that nearly 24% of Xbox 360S faced a catastrophic failure known as the Red Ring of Death? Stick around to find out why. Welcome, gamers. Today, we're diving deep into the science behind console failures. We're talking about those dreaded hardware issues, software glitches, and design flaws that can bring your gaming world crashing down. But don't worry, this isn't just about doom and gloom. Understanding these issues can actually save you a lot of frustration and money in the long run. So let's boot up our knowledge and level up our understanding of console tech. All right, let's talk heat. Just like your gaming skills on a good day, consoles can run hot. But unlike your skills, excessive heat can spell disaster for your console's hardware. We've all been there. The fan noise starts to sound like a jet engine taking off. One of the most infamous examples is the Xbox 360's Red Ring of Death. Nearly a quarter of all Xbox 360S were hit with this hardware failure. The culprit? Overheating. The console's design and intense heat led to widespread motherboard failures. The PlayStation 4 also had its fair share of overheating issues. Early models were notorious for sounding like a wind tunnel. Dust buildup and poor ventilation were often to blame. The good news is that manufacturers learn from these mistakes. Sony made significant design changes in later PS4 models. They incorporated better heat sinks, larger vents, and improved airflow. Keeping your console cool and dust-free can prevent these heat-related issues. Next up, let's talk about power, the lifeblood of any gaming console. Without a steady and reliable flow of electricity, your console is about as useful as an unplugged controller. And just like overheating, power-related issues can lead to some seriously frustrating failures. Remember the PlayStation 3? It was a technological marvel for its time, but early models were plagued by a dreaded yellow light of death. This ominous yellow glow signaled a general hardware failure, often linked to the console's power supply. Capacitors, the little components that regulate voltage, were often the culprits. Over time, these capacitors would degrade, especially when subjected to power surges or fluctuations. The Nintendo Switch, while a fantastic handheld console, hasn't been immune to power problems either. There have been reports of issues with the Switch's power brick, particularly with third-party accessories. Some users experienced bricked consoles after using unofficial chargers, especially after firmware updates. So, what's the science behind these power struggles? Well, it all comes down to the delicate balance of electricity and the components that manage it. Capacitors, as we mentioned earlier, play a crucial role. They act like tiny energy reservoirs, smoothing out the flow of electricity to prevent sudden spikes or drops. But capacitors aren't invincible. Over time, they age and degrade, especially when exposed to extreme temperatures or inconsistent power levels. This degradation can lead to a decrease in their ability to store and release energy effectively, resulting in power fluctuations that can damage sensitive components. The takeaway here is twofold. First, always use official chargers and accessories whenever possible. They're designed and tested to work seamlessly with your console and meet its specific power requirements. Second, protect your console from power surges. Consider using a surge protector to safeguard your investment from unexpected voltage spikes. Chapter 3. Software glitches when updates go wrong. We've talked about hardware, but what about the brains of the operation, the software? Just like a corrupted save file can ruin your progress in a game, software bugs and faulty updates can wreak havoc on your entire console. Take the PlayStation 4, for example. Back in 2017, a seemingly routine firmware update, version 4.50, turned into a nightmare for some users. This update, intended to improve system performance, ended up bricking consoles, particularly those with external hard drives. It highlighted the fact that even minor software tweaks can have unintended and sometimes catastrophic consequences. The Xbox One wasn't spared from software woes either. In 2018, a firmware update led to a widespread black screen of death issue. Users would power on their consoles, only to be met with a blank screen. The update had introduced a bug that prevented the console from booting properly. So why do these software glitches happen? Well, think of your console's operating system as a complex web of interconnected code. Each firmware update is like introducing a new strand into that web. If that strand isn't perfectly compatible, or if the update process is interrupted, like during a power outage, it can create conflicts and errors within the system. These errors can manifest in a variety of ways, from minor performance hiccups to full-blown system crashes. In some cases, these errors can even render the console unusable, effectively bricking it. The key takeaway here is to be cautious with software updates. While they're often necessary for improved performance and security, it's always a good idea to back up your data before installing any major updates. And if you do encounter issues after an update, don't panic. Console manufacturers are usually quick to release patches and fixes to address widespread problems. Chapter 4. Drops and Dings. The Physicality of Console Failure. We've covered the internal threats to your console's well-being, but let's not forget about the external dangers. Those heart-stopping moments when your console takes a tumble. Whether it's an accidental slip, a rage quit gone wrong, or the classic tripped over the controller cable incident, physical damage can be just as devastating as any hardware or software failure. The Nintendo Switch, with its portable nature, is particularly susceptible to drops. Its lightweight design and detachable Joy-Cons, while great for on-the-go gaming, also make it more vulnerable to impacts. Drop tests have shown that even a short fall can result in cracked screens, unresponsive joysticks, and internal damage. But it's not just about drops. The original PlayStation Portable, or PSP, was notorious for its fragile disk drive. The slightest bump or jolt could dislodge the disk, leading to read errors and potential damage to both the disk and the drive itself. Now, let's get a little more technical. When a console experiences a physical shock, the force of the impact is transferred throughout its internal components. This can cause delicate parts to become misaligned, solder joints to crack, and even create micro-fractures in circuit boards. The severity of the damage depends on a number of factors, including the height of the drop, the surface it lands on, and even the angle of impact. But even seemingly minor drops can have cumulative effects over time, weakening the console's overall structural integrity. So, how can you protect your console from these physical threats? Well, common sense goes a long way. Keep your console in a safe and stable location, away from edges and potential hazards. Invest in a carrying case for portable consoles like the Switch, and consider using screen protectors to guard against scratches and cracks. Chapter 5. Dust bunnies and ventilation, the importance of console hygiene. We've talked about overheating, power issues, software glitches, and physical damage, but there's another often overlooked culprit behind console failures: dust. Yes, those tiny particles floating around your living room can wreak havoc on your gaming experience. The PlayStation 4, with its sleek design and narrow vents, was particularly susceptible to dust accumulation. Over time, dust would build up inside the console, clogging the fan and heat sink and preventing proper airflow. This, as we discussed earlier, would lead to overheating, fan noise, and eventually hardware failure. Microsoft, learning from past experiences, designed the Xbox Series X with ease of maintenance in mind. The console features easily accessible vents and a removable fan cover, making it much easier for users to clean out dust and debris. But why is dust such a problem for consoles? Well, those tiny particles act as insulators, trapping heat and preventing it from dissipating properly. As dust accumulates on components like the CPU and GPU, it creates a thermal blanket, causing them to run hotter than intended. This excessive heat, as we've established, can lead to a whole host of problems, from decreased performance and system instability to permanent hardware damage. In extreme cases, a dust-clogged console can even pose a fire hazard. The good news is that preventing dust buildup is relatively simple. Regular cleaning is key. Use a can of compressed air to blow out dust from vents and crevices, and consider using a microfiber cloth to wipe down external surfaces. Keeping your console in a well-ventilated area and off the floor can also help minimize dust accumulation. Outro: game over for console failures? So there you have it, folks. Console failures are often a mix of engineering challenges and how we use our devices. By understanding these issues, you can take simple steps to prolong your console's life. Keep your console cool, dust-free, and away from harm, and always be mindful of software updates and power sources. A little bit of care can go a long way in ensuring countless hours of gaming enjoyment. Tell us about your experiences with console failures in the comments. What's the worst issue you've had? And don't forget to check out our other videos on gaming technology. See you next time.